Okay, we're going to jump right into it. Q&A. I'm going to answer a few questions and give a little information at the end of the video. Big question. Oh, as for the resend that went out the other day, some people got something crazy, but most people seem to have gotten the correct thing. Don't know what happened, but moving forward next week, all this will be video based, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video. But starting with number one, what are the long-term prospects of the storage auction resale business? Okay, had to think about this, had to look at some stuff. I think the long-term outlook is good for the following reason. Slowly but surely, the casual storage auction person is falling out of love with storage auctions. The ratings of the shows are slipping. The number of internet forum posts that's saying, hey, this is hard, all of that stuff is impacting that. And I would say this time next year, it's not going to be as good as it was when I was in it. Just be straight up. That's never going to happen again. But this time next year, it will not be unusual for more and more people to be getting deals, because this summer I know of a guy that got a 10 by 20 for $25. I know of a guy that got a 10 by 30 for $200 and made $7,000. Deals were popping up, whereas mere 6 months ago this wasn't happening. A room that was a 5 by 5 full of trash was going for $500. Essentially, this thing is, we reached this tipping point. We're on the other side of the mountain. How far we're going to get down to the other side in terms of pricing, I don't know. But essentially, for the people who prepare and have a business structure, it's going to be great. The days of you making 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000, and it's just you, a pickup truck working out of your house, those days are over. It's just not going to happen anymore. There's too much competition, and the platforms have changed. Speaking of that, well, I'm actually getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to say, if these are some of the tips that I would say if I was getting into business today, this is what I would do. Number one, I would develop my customer list as fast as I could. We're at the point where all that stuff's in the book, and these are things you should be working on. Number two, I would get as much space as I could possibly afford. Whatever that is for you, I would get as much as I could, and I would buy big units. That's what I would do if I was getting into business today. Because you can't, the part-time angle is just going to be really, really hard. It's going to be a real struggle, because you're never going to have the infrastructure to handle the volume of units that you would need to make a good income. As I deconstructed my process, one of the reasons my partner and I were so successful, we bought a lot of units. The more you buy, the luckier you become. You can't get around that metric. That's why some of my viewpoints may be harsh in terms of cherry picking. I never cherry picked. My goal was, if you go back to the video where I was talking about the philosophy of need and your bidding philosophy, I would go out and buy stuff that I knew people needed. I would also buy stuff that I wanted, and I would buy stuff, and I would gamble. But I always tried to buy first, in the first position, what people needed. That was number one buying reason. Because I would come in and I would look at it, and I'm in the South. Where you are, things may be different, but people want certain things at a certain price. Nice, clean televisions always sold. It was always a matter of price point. Washer and dryers, price point. Refrigerators, price point. Furniture, price point. When you got down to, yeah, that's nice and I want it, versus, yeah, that's nice and I need it, that's when you had people that were like, And I've actually heard people on the sales force like, God, I really want that, but I don't need it. The lady was looking at a mirror. It was a 6-foot floor mirror with a gold frame, and I had $250 on it because brand new. It was like $700, so I thought $250 was good. And I talked to her, and I was like, well, what would make you take it home? And she said, maybe $180. And I said, I could do $200 if you want me to load it in your car today, and we got, she got it for 200. So that's kind of the things. Whereas washer and dryers, not so much beating up because they were priced fairly, but that's part of the things that you have to do to be successful. You're going to have to scale up. You can't do it any other way, and that's one of the reasons that this course is geared for the professional person who's going to do it. Now, there are some people who have maybe taken on more than they should have, and they're kind of in a tough spot. My advice to you is have a fire sale. Everything that you have, sell it. Mark it down, give it away, whatever, get rid of as much of that stuff as possible and see how much money you can earn as soon as possible. Because this is the thing. This is August. Historically, for my physical business, August was the worst month for 12 years. August was, and this is why. Back to school, suck up a lot of money. If you're selling clothes or furniture to college kids or people, you're in a town where a bunch of people are moving, that kind of helps. But August was always bad. People taking last minute vacations, just bananas. But also, washing clothes. Unless these clothes are items that you can put on eBay and get 12, 15, 20, 30, 40, don't wash them. Dollar pile, 50-cent pile, 20-cent pile, whatever. Don't wash them. It's not worth it, because this is what happens when you wash clothes. You become emotionally attached to them, and you think that they're worth a certain price point because of the effort that you put into washing them, making sure they were clean. The customer gives a shit. Oh, wow, it's clean. I still want to pay you $1, and they mean it. Don't wash unless you can put it on eBay. But essentially, if you're in a tough spot, fire sale. Blow it out, blow it out, blow it out. Immigrants. You're going to have to work on this. One of the ways that I was able to develop relationships with immigrants was I hired a lot of Latino workers. And a lot of times I took them home. A lot of times I picked them up in their home. And I'm just like, hey, and if you know anything about Hispanics, they tend to travel in groups. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. So I would go there and it would be like, bam, 3, 4 of them. I'm like, bam, business cards. Hey, I sell you stuff. Clothes, boots, whatever you have. And they would come. So you actually have to go to them. But since they saw me actually employing people in their community, I wasn't a bad dude. I wasn't immigration. Because there's a lot of people that have like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. You should hire Americans. I was like, I hired the best people to do the job at the right price, and it was Hispanics. So you're going to actually have to go into the community or find someone that will go into that community. Go to them. And also, when I opened up the warehouse, because everyone hasn't watched all the videos, the first few months were kind of like, first 6 weeks were kind of like, woo. Put the signs out, people come in, garage sale, this big warehouse, there was this perception. And, for 6 weeks, my partner was kind of like looking at me like, really? You said this was going to work. It ain't working. And, that's why I really pushed the online thing. But I'm going to address that in a second. When you open up any new business, whatever it may be, 2 to 5 years to really kind of take off, with you doing a lot of gut busting work that whole time. That's how it goes. This video is, I should say this business is a little faster than that, because there's so many things you can do to get cash in, and if you get the units at the right price, you really can be profitable from day one. But definitely look at that. If you just open, this is your first year, first few months, it's going to be hard, and it's not anything that you're doing really bad. You can always do better. But understand, it's a new business, and new business has growth pains. And a lot of times those growth pains are a lack of money when you need it. eBay, the necessary evil. I hate to recommend eBay. I hate to recommend PayPal. Actually, if you have a merchant account, you don't have to use a PayPal account, but this is one of the reasons that I'm changing that section of the book where I was talking about eBay. You can't do that anymore. That's one of the reasons I pulled down getting into black with eBay, because those things are controversial, and they were definitely get you kicked off eBay and Amazon. You can't do it anymore. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I have no good news for you on this. Essentially, it's their platform. All you can do is get whatever money you can from them, stay within their guidelines, and develop your own selling channel, such as a website, because I don't see it getting any better. But it is what it is. It's horrible. It's terrible. They have your balls in a vice, and unfortunately, it is one of the best places on the planet to sell things. You can go to Etsy, you can use Craigslist, but if you get something like weird and exotic, a lot of times eBay is the best place for it. But that's kind of the long-term business prospect. I mean, it's going to be wide open for those who prepare, but it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. Okay. Big question. Should I go full-time in the storage auction business? I honestly cannot recommend or tell you that you should do that. This is why. I don't know you. I don't know your work ethics. I don't know how much cash you have. I don't know your general location. There's so many variables that I can't say, yeah, go ahead and do it. And that's just bad advice. That's a question that you have to do internally, that you have to do the work internally, and you have to answer it yourself. I will give you some guidelines. Number one, if you're in a large city with a lot of auctions, you could probably sustain yourself once you know what you're doing, once you build your business from a auction-based business. If you're out in the boonies, it could be a little rough. If you don't have significant capital today, 2012, it's going to be challenging. One more recommendation. If you're going to go full-time in the storage auction business and you're going to quit your job, or maybe you're being pushed out your job, if you have a year's worth of expenses, not for business, personal, pay your mortgage, pay your medical bills, whatever. If you've got a year's worth of expenses liquid now, not what's in your 401k, I'm not recommending anyone raid their 401k to do this. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to recommend that because it takes too long to put the money in there, and you lose out on the compounding of interest. But if you've got the funds, the resources to sustain your household above, whether you make any money from the storage auction business or not, you're in a good position for long-term growth in the storage business. Because one of the reasons that so many people can't grow is the hand-to-mouth. They buy a unit, make some money, pay some bills, and they never can really crank up that operating capital because everything's going to pay bills. That's one of the problems, because you're on this treadmill and you can never really, really break out. And if you get like a jackpot unit, then bam, that does it. But those are far and few between. The reality is you're going to have to be working with regular run-of-the-mill stuff. And if you can buy it right, if you can logistically process it at a price that doesn't kill you, you can make a lot of money, even today. But those things are key. It's really about your positioning, where you are. I mean, I had a guy that took my course a few years ago. He went ahead and got a roommate. That was the only way he could raise some money to get in the game. He's like, I don't want a roommate. I hate having a roommate, but I want to get into this. And, got a roommate, $500 a month, saved it for 4 months, and he was able to go out and buy units. That's how the commitment you have to make. But you really have to go through the check sheet, like in the first section of the book. You got to go through all that stuff, and then sit down with pen and paper, get it out of your mind on the paper or a computer screen or something. Get it out of your mind and weigh it out. Then make your decision after doing due diligence. Once you make your decision, wait a week. Then after that week, when you come back and you still want to do it, hey, I think you're in a good spot. But this is not something I would say quit your job for, raise your investments. No, would not do it. Excel spreadsheet. I get a lot of people that are saying, hey, could you send me an example? And unfortunately, I can't. My partner, who was an accountant, was a controller for her company. She did all that stuff, and unfortunately, when she passed, don't know what happened to that stuff. I mean, I don't. I can't send it to you. If I had it, I would. I have no clue. I think, when she passed on, I was just so out of it. I wasn't really thinking. I mean, it was just a real rough period. So, some guidelines. And I use pages now and numbers, so I don't even have Excel. But on the processing of merchandise, I will give you bucket theories. Clothing. All right. Use your mind, use your imagination, because we have no visuals. Pulling out clothing, you've got two stacks. Cheap shit, eBayable stuff. The eBayable stuff's going to be small. Anything that you can't put on eBay and yield 10, 15, 20 bucks, it goes. I don't care how nice it is. I don't care what name brand it is. If you can't yield a certain amount on eBay, it's $1 or less. I don't care how nice it is. So what we would do, that stuff would come in, bam. We would count pieces. 200 pieces, $250. Throw it in the dollar section. That's how we kept. Everything that came in got processed and not inventory, because you can't. You get a unit with 1,000, 1,500 pieces, you'll be there all day. But bam, that's we did a number piece on the clothing. Anything that went into the dollar section, same method. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $25, bam, dollar section, unit number, and every unit had its own Excel spreadsheet. Then those sheets were combined, and we had a weekly spreadsheet, because everything that was bought Monday through Saturday, that was considered a weekly buy. In the beginning, I learned that sitting there trying to milk the profit out of each and every unit was madness. Sometimes you're going to have some losses in that weekly buy, but because of the winners, you're okay. I'll give you an example. I bought 20 units one week. 10 of the units were turkeys. Turkeys were, I spent 500, we barely made 1,000. Doubling your money is not doubling your money in this business when you factor in gas, lunch, wages, there's expenses. So doubling your money, if you've got those expenses, you're losing money. So 10 of those units were like turkeys, right? Other 10 were like triples, 3 times the money. Triples or more. And then there was 2 that paid for everything else. Okay, listen to what I just said. There was 20 units. 10 were turkeys, gobble gobble. There were 7 that were triples, 3 times the money, and there was 2 that was, I'm going to say quadruple, 7, 8, 9, 10 times the money. But those 2 brought everything else up. So if I had just bought those 10 units, it wouldn't have been a complete loss, but it wouldn't have been a very profitable week. But since I bought 20 and I had those 2, essentially, I bought the units at the end of the run, and they changed the balance sheet, if that makes sense, because the balance sheet was this, those 2 came in, then bam, what was once like turkeys, they became peacocks, because these 2 units carried the rest of them. And that's why I say you have to buy a lot of units, because it's not just about buying a lot of units to find that special thing. When you buy a lot of units, you're going to get some good ones that are going to even out the turkeys. And that's how we made money for years. That's why when I watch Storage Wars or Auction Hunters and they're only buying 1 to 2 units, that's not real buying. When you are cranking it up and you've got trucks, I'll give you where we were for about 2 years. It was my partner and myself. We had 1 truck, a 17-footer, and I had routinely like 2 Latino workers. That was 30, 40 units a month. Just that 1 truck and that setup. But buy. Get up early in the morning, load at night. I mean, you have to have some. It just was an ongoing thing. Then when I got to the 24-foot trucks, oh Lord, the unit count only went up a little bit, but the efficiency went through the roof, because essentially on the 24-foot truck you can get twice as much stuff as you can in a 17-foot truck. I do remember buying units that I had to make 2 trips with the 17-foot truck because they were that packed. I was glad they were packed, but time and effort, gas. Whereas 24-foot truck, buy more units, and I would try to buy as many units at one property as I could, because the logistics, the economies of scale, that stuff kicks in. You got 2 guys. I mean, seriously, if you're at one property and you've got like say 4 or 5 units, It's going to add maybe an hour and a half to clean out those extra units. Yet you only spend the gas and the labor. I mean, it's not going to seriously raise your cost because you're buying as many units as you can per location. And that was another little trick. But definitely, that's how the Excel spreadsheet work. Hopefully that is kind of clear. And essentially, you're going to have to create your own system and your own process because it's you based on what you had. Because, that Excel spreadsheet was based on a truck coming up to a door, folding table here, bam, 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 trash bin here, and there was a system. That's how it worked. Okay? Immigrants, how to handle. Bam, bam, bam. I believe I covered that earlier. So I should check this stuff off. Essentially, you're going to have to go in it. Yes, I did cover that. Okay, blowout sale. Blowout sale and stagnant merchandise. We're going to address those. Sometimes you may have a bunch of stuff that's just not selling. You mark it down, you mark it down, you mark it down. This is where having the Excel spreadsheet and the unit and the stuff, because believe me, when you buy this stuff and you actually do the work, you remember so much of what came from what. And you start like, okay, this stuff's been here 6 weeks. This stuff's been here 8 weeks. At that point, it's costing you money to keep it because you're paying rent or whatever, and it's not carrying this load. Every 8 weeks, you got to do what's called a blowout sale. Put everything together, make deals, create groups, whatever, and just get rid of it. And if it doesn't sell, donate it. Because this is what happens. When you hold on to the stuff, your regular customers are going to start playing you stupid. They're going to actually walk up to you and go, this has been here for 3 months. What's your best price? And they got you. You just got to hold your hands up and like, okay, they got you. And I realized that, and I was like, okay, we got to keep this floor moving. We got to keep stuff moving, coming in, got to keep stuff going out. Even if it didn't make any money, it was better to get rid of that stuff than to hold on to it for dear life because you train your customers. If you're having sales all the time, you train your customers that, hey, it's about that time. They're going to be having a sale. And they will sit on their money until if they know you're going to have a sale, they will sit on their money and hope that item goes to sale, and they don't care about losing it because there's so much stuff out there. But yeah, when you have the stagnant merchandise, you got to clear it out on a routine basis because it's just going to have to take it up as a loss, or it may not even be a loss. It may be a loss for your taxes because this inventory didn't sell, inventory didn't damage, and that's the next one. I don't even have to jump into that, but clear that stuff out. Even if you have to donate it or throw it away. And this is low margin stuff. If you got a really nice bedroom set, or maybe a piano or a pool table, something that's nice that may sell around Christmas, and hold on to that. I'm just talking about $5, $10 and below stuff. A nicer item you can discount and not take such a hit, but that $10, $5, you got to clear it out, and you got to keep it clear because you got to keep it rolling. Accounting. Okay, let's have the accounting. Hold on. I need a swig. I get many questions about accounting. And I have the good sense not to answer those questions for the following reason. I pushed the edge with accounting, my business. I did so many things that were like right there on that line. I mean, sometimes when no one was looking, I'll step my foot across that line. But in fairness and as part of responsibility, I'm not going to lead you down a path that I know I'm going to get you in trouble. I can't do that, because when I did it, if bad things happen, I took the hit. And I have had many people, hey, I won't hold you responsible. Look, just tell me what you did. In business, I have learned that the person who wants the information is totally different cat than the person who got the information and had unrealized results. Because this is what's going to happen. Glendon, thanks, give me the information. Take the information. It does not work to their expectations. Something bad happens. Then, hey, Glendon, man, they gave me that information, but it didn't really turn out. And, it was really bad. And, I'm gonna need a little remuneration, man, because if it wasn't for you, I would have never even did that stuff, man. And I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen. On accounting, this is what you do. If you don't want to hire an accountant or you don't have the money, you're gonna have to study the tax code, and you're gonna have to study the federal tax code, and your county tax code, and your city tax code. Whatever applies to you and your business, you're going to have to study that, and you're going to have to make those decisions based upon the information that you gathered and how you filled out those forms. Because I'm not an accountant, and my opinion, one of the reasons that so many people cheat on taxes is because it's so ridiculous. Because what worked this year changes this year, what you could do. There's so much. I mean, the huge financial cost that corporations pay just to stay in compliance or ahead of the tax code is huge. It's crazy huge. So just for your protection, do the right thing. Pay the money, know the tax code, know what you can, what you can't get away with. And like I said, if you don't want to do that, hire a professional. Because I am not going to give you accounting advice, because just like earlier when I said I can't say, hey, stay in the business, get out the business. There's so many variables. There's so many variables. I'll give you an example. The deal with automatic weapons. Every time I put up a weapon video or mention weapons, bam, people just come out. Well, no, that's not correct. And, I did this. I called up the ATF and I said, look, I've got a weapon. What do I do? Lady, went, oh, and she's like, it was registered. If you have an automatic weapon that is registered, it's a transfer. There's only so many. If you have an automatic weapon and you call ATF and they don't have it in their database, it's illegal. And it's a problem. It's a huge, huge problem. And I don't share a lot of information because I'm not trying to have ATF and all the RS, all these folks crawling up my ass. Because that's what would happen if I say, hey, this happened. And so I'm not doing it. Because one of the things, and take this information any way that you want to, is when you're in this business, you come across so many sensitive things that will boggle the mind of the average person. You can seriously have a whole different lifestyle just from storage auctions, just from the stuff you get out of the units. And a lot of that stuff's illegal, dangerous, and if you get caught with it, you could go to jail. That's why I say, in your best interest, people are like, hey, don't flush drugs, whatever. Look, you come across some pills, some weed, some crack, some cocaine. I've come across all of that stuff. Get rid of it. Don't be cute. Don't try to sell it, because what I have learned from all of these storage units, and especially with drug dealers, most drug dealers don't get caught because of the excellent police work. They get caught because someone got jealous and told on them. Listen to what I'm saying. You bring in one of your friends on one of these units and one of these deals, and they see your chick's hotter or your house is nicer, and all of a sudden they get a little jealous and they have something that can really knock you down a few pegs. That history's written in stories like that. So don't do it. Keep as much as sensitive information to yourself. Because if someone came to me and said, hey, Glendon, I know you bought a unit and it had 21 M16s in it. I'm like, prove it. Prove it. Can't prove it. Because if I did buy a unit like that, there's only 2 people that would know about it, and one of them's in heaven. So, like I said, when I say keeping stuff to yourself is the best protection, I'm not kidding. So that's it with accounting. Just don't really get too deep in that, because you're going to have to really work that. Okay, I talked about the washing the clothes. Let's talk about the big one. Hey, Glendon, you talk about gathering information, talking to storage auction people, staying on top of your data. How do you do that? Okay, this is going to hurt. There is no super quick and easy way to do this. This is what I term grunt work. This is going out, talking to people, taking notes, and building relationships, which is time consuming. You can't, I don't know, I'm going to say you can. I'm not going to say you can't, but it took me months to years to develop the relationships I had. It's showing up at the auctions, talking to the manager, getting the manager's phone number. Like when there was a break in the auction, make sure that wherever the manager was going, I would go and have lunch with them, and I would take that unstressed time to talk and make myself a friendly face. Because I will tell you, I have forgotten to clean out units. I mean, I was buying so many. I was at an auction. We're in the hallway, and I'm looking. I was like, oh, that looks like my lock. It was colored, and I looked at I was like, oh, snap, that is my lock. And I didn't say anything after the auction because I had to come back and I had a new gate code, and I went in and I cleaned it out. And I had bought that unit like the month before, and no one called me. And I mean, I also had a unit that I split with someone. And this is what I talk about when I talk about partnerships and stuff. I got what I wanted out of the unit, and my potential partner was supposed to clean out the rest. He did not. He only cleaned out what he wanted, left a lot of that stuff in there. The unit was bought under my name. I gave his number to the storage, the storage facility. They called him. He ignored it, and I get this angry call from a manager, the property manager. I was like, "How come you didn't clean out that unit?" I was like, "Well, it's supposed to be cleaned out." And because I had forged a relationship with the district manager, and the manager of the property, wanted me banned. She wanted me banned. She was pissed. She never liked me. She thought I was arrogant. She thought I was cocky. And the manager was like, "Okay, what happened?" And I looked at him. I told him. And at that point, I had been buying this maybe 2.5 years. And I was like, "That's what happened. I mean, I can clean it out." And she's like, "It's already cleaned out. Just ban it." And he's like, "Look, don't partner up with those people, and we're just going to let this thing ride." And that was the beginning and end of it, and the manager did not like it. But that's the power of building relationships with the right people. Because in this business, it's cutthroat. People do stuff. People try to set you up. But essentially, you're going to have to do the hard work of meeting people, building these relationships, getting the phone. And the thing is, you can't get their contact information or talk to them once and expect that to be a relationship. There was this one manager I thought was a complete asshole, but got to know him. He was a pretty good fella. It took 7 months to get to that point. 7 months. This is not a quick fix. So gathering information is about building relationships, talking to people, and being consistent with it. You just can't, and it's a wrap. It's not going to work like that. Okay, got that. Just make sure I'm not going over myself. Okay, that is the vast majority of the questions. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, another one. How to handle your storage auction competition. Currently on the shows, there's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of smack talking. I did some of that. I'm not going to say, oh, it doesn't happen, because it does. But it doesn't usually happen like that. How do you handle people? The folks that I saw that had the least amount of problems, and they weren't like, shy. If they wanted a unit, they would buy it. Because like one guy, Leon. Leon never said jack to anybody. He just came out and bought units. Sometimes I wish I had followed his lead because my mouth got me in trouble. But don't be fair to everybody. Buy your units, you're good, bad, whatever, and don't say a lot other than what's necessary, and you'll be fine. You won't have these fights and all this other stuff like I did. And actually, it wasn't that many. It was Big Booty Judy, about 6 people over the years. And the Clampets, but the Clampets hated everybody. In the book, they're the Kincaids, because I knew if I used Clampets, somebody was coming after me, so I couldn't use that. I actually changed that on the blog. But, just go out there and do your thing. I mean, for the most part, nothing's really going to happen to you. It's just not. All right, here's the big deal. Next week, we go off into the next phase because, this didn't wrap up the way I wanted it to, but no problem. Everything else going forward is going to be video based. I'm in the process of working with this other site where essentially you will be able to Get a password. Because what I'm going to do, because this site's going to be the pay site. And essentially, the new folks are going to be paying more because I'm going to do maybe a coupon or something that's going to be real cheap. But essentially, you'll log in, you'll get your passwords, your access, and everything, and no more emails, all this. We're going to continue emails to finish this up, just to let you know. But it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot cleaner, and it's going to be better all the way around. Because there's two ways I'm looking at this. It's going to be like the quick and down and dirty easy course, which you probably won't need, and then there's going to be the nicer course. So once I get all that set up, I will send that out, put it out there on the email, and we'll be good to go. Because definitely this has been a super learning process for me. It's just one way I like to do it. I do like the chunk method because you can't get ahead. I did like that, but due to the madness that happens with email and spam, there's so many limitations. Because like I said, I don't know what happened last night with that mass send out. Sometimes it works, most of the time it works, but then when it doesn't, you're like, okay, what the heck happened? And I just know that with my ISP, there's a 500 per hour sending limit, and I didn't reach that last night. I know I didn't, but once again, these things happen. But it's going to be leaner, cleaner, and much easier. Also, there's some more stuff that's going to come out because after we finish this up, then we're going to jump into the Craigslist deal. And Craigslist keeps changing. And it's kind of sad because what works for 1 month or a year, then next year it doesn't work because of all these changes. But hey, the only constant is change. But that's it. Okay, so if you have another question, because I'm going to do another one of these, and I didn't cover, send it to bootcamp@storageauctionguru.com. I'm going to do another video like this and just kind of go down there. Because I didn't get all the questions because it's going to be the next phase. Because I have been working like a demon, and I took half a day off because it was just nuts. Because the thing is, I'm actually writing 2 books at the same time, which is kind of insane, but I'm trying to push myself. Because when I say, you need to do things different, I take my own advice. This is kind of scary, some of the stuff I'm doing. Like, the porn and the DVD player is doing actually better than expected because I'm not putting too much behind it, but it's doing pretty well, and I'm happy with that. And if you want to get a copy, be sure to leave that 5-star review. Yeah, that's me. Plug. But that's what's going on. I'm trying to put out a lot of information. I made a decision, and it's like it attracted more. I'm not doing a reality television show. It's like every few weeks or every other month, I get this flurry of emails from producers. And I don't want to be that guy. I kind of struggle because on one hand, yeah, it's a nice opportunity, but I look at what's happened to the people who have been on the shows, and I don't want that life. I like my life the way it is. I like being able to be my own man and say what I want to say and not be holding or have, because some of those contracts and options that they wanted me to sign had all of them had this clause that, hey, we would want to sign off on whatever you put on your blog or YouTube. And I was like, no. And the 2 publishing deals I got, same kind of thing. It's just like everybody wants to have maximum control over you, but only giving you a few shillings. Because I really looked at it, and it's just like that could be a very dangerous thing. And the publishing companies would not take the clauses out. Not to mention, I wasn't going to take the deal because the money didn't make any sense. And they were like, that's just part of the deal. And I was like, no. So, a lot of business lessons. So that's what's going to be popping off because it's just an easier, the video thing. I looked at it. It's just the best way to go. It's easier. Get away from these emails. And I think it's just going to be a better experience all around. And we'll have a few other little things in there. Okay, once again, any questions, send them to bootcamp@storageauctionguru.com.